And we are live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gym of the Crypto, episode 818. Today is Tuesday, October 19th, 2021, and I'm King, here to bridge the gap between the community and crypto every day, Monday through Friday at 10-ish, of course, 7-ish if you're on my side of the West Coast. And today's top stories, no other than some of the biggest news out there. Why the first US-based Bitcoin ETF is a watershed moment for crypto. ProShares Bitcoin futures ETF starts trading in watershed moment. US Treasury says it must modernize and adapt to digital currencies. And crypto lender Nexo confirms NYAG order and calls it a mix-up of sorts, it looks like. But first and foremost, of course, let's go ahead and check out these prices. And we'll be talking more in depth about the price of Bitcoin today. But Bitcoin is coming in hot at $62,605. I literally just saw it hit 63,000 right before the show started, but that's up 1.3%. Ethereum's at $3,800, $3,816.30, up 0.45%. Binance coins at $486, up 2.47%. Actually 12%, 12.84% on the week. Cardano is down 0.67% at $2.13. Ripple is up 0.1% at $1.09. Let's see, we got Solana hanging in there at $156, down 1.38%, and number 10 is still Dogecoin at 20%, down 4.5%. So everybody's still in that same, for the most part, 3 to 5% range. But I think today will be today. Well, actually, not just today, but this entire week will tell us a lot about the market, the retail market, as well as the institutional market, and how everyone feels about those ETFs. So, I'm on my screen, trying to bring up these comments before I get started. Give everyone some quick shout outs today. BK Board, best I raised. Thank you for the tip. Appreciate you too. What's going on? Goodness from Nigeria, Lawrence. Michael Kennedy, Dallas Pipes, Peter Kimbray, Ali Pio, Kadeem, Dylan Darchenfield, Boom, Lisa Lee, DC, Carson, Ken Mitchum. Let's see, Chappie, or 3 p.m. in the UK, says Peter. There we go. Calvin Leon, good morning. What's going on, Carmelo? Good morning, everyone. And want to give a shout out to today's show sponsor, CryptoVantage.com. Of course, we've been partnering with CryptoVantage.com these last couple of months as a free news and educational resource for cryptocurrency. Actually, our top story is coming from CryptoVantage.com. Why the first US-based Bitcoin ETF is a watershed moment for crypto. As I've been saying, this is literally the talk of the town. Everyone was really paying attention to this, not just Wall Street or institutions, but other countries as well. Maybe they'll launch Bitcoin ETFs. Now, I like how this article, I'll just go ahead and jump into it. Again, this is an article from our sponsor, CryptoVantage.com. Make sure you check them out. I've actually seen, this is a pretty good article too, just as an aside. On this right column, this beginner asks CryptoVantage, can I buy Bitcoin without using an exchange? I've been seeing that question pop up a lot. So you can also check out that article too to learn how to buy Bitcoin without using an exchange. All right, but why the first US-based Bitcoin ETF is a watershed moment for crypto? It has finally happened. The Securities and Exchange Commission has approved a Bitcoin ETF, or ETFs, as I say, because a lot of them actually got approved as a recent, but the 75-day reporting period for the ProShares Bitcoin ETF strategy ETF ended on Monday, October 18th. And during this window, the SEC declines to file any form of objections, meaning that the path has been officially cleared for this ETF to be launched. And of course, it actually launched, which we'll be talking about that in a moment. But the one thing that I know that a lot of people are looking at, I knew it was very important to me, others as well, is what does this mean as far as the price of Bitcoin in USD terms, right? A lot of people are using their Bitcoin as a hedge on inflation or as a store of value. So kind of going down this article, I kind of want to really get to how they're looking at market cap to look at prices, since it's going along with the price point of Bitcoin today, which again was at 62,000, just hit 63,000. It's kind of bouncing in between of those or whatever. But here it is. So as you can say, to put it in perspective, it's worth pointing out that global ETF assets equal $9 trillion in August of this year, while in the United States alone, the ETF market accounts for some 6.6 trillion. So we have the brunt of the global ETF market in the first 7 months of 2021, which is probably why we have our debt the way it is too, all these derivatives. But in the first 7 months of 2021, the latter figure reached its current total by virtue of a fresh injection of around $519 billion in net capital inflows. They're saying now imagine 10% of that, so 51.9 billion, have been spent on Bitcoin. Even 1% equals 5.19 billion. That essentially says we could see new highs in the market just from getting that push from the actual ETF market. Bitcoin is already the 8th most valuable asset in the world with its $1.17 trillion market, putting it just behind silver, which accounts for $1.31 trillion in wealth. With Bitcoin ETFs becoming increasingly common in the United States, it becomes hard to resist the conclusion that Bitcoin will not only overtake silver, but also climb a few more positions in the not too distant future. So they're just simply looking at market cap saying, hey, Bitcoin is number 8 at 1.17 trillion at say a $60,000 price point. If it were to eclipse silver, it says here, that will put Bitcoin at about $70,000 at that price point for one Bitcoin. They even break it down to say, hey, if it's equal to the price of Amazon market cap, it'll put a price point at $91,500, equal to the price of Google, $100,000, equal to the price of Microsoft, 100. So it's literally just looking at market caps. I do get what they're saying, but again, just because we're launching these ETFs doesn't mean people will readily buy them up. Again, there's still this educational component that has to happen. But the good thing is that they're really about to push mass adoption now, because if you want to sell a product, if you want to sell Bitcoin ETF, you have to educate people on at least the basics of what Bitcoin is. Now, again, the narrative is going to change. They're not going to say Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer open source financial system for anyone to use. They're not going to do that. They're just going to say, hey, Bitcoin is a way to store your value, and we're custodians of that Bitcoin. We're offering you exposure to it by using this ETF. So now it's about educating people, changing that narrative, and see if they're going to actually bite on that. And again, it remains to be seen, because literally this morning, the first ETF just launched. Let's go ahead and hop into it. ProShares Bitcoin Futures ETF starts trading in this watershed moment, as it's being called. After years of delays and setbacks, the first Bitcoin link exchange traded fund in the US, the ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, made its debut Tuesday, marking a watershed moment for the crypto industry. So this is it definitely is a watershed moment. Bitcoin ETFs have been called for since 2017. Again, it's very interesting to see some of the companies that are getting these ETFs or getting the nod when there are a lot of other companies and platforms in the earlier years trying to do it and getting really harsh pushback or no comment in general. They weren't even getting direction. It was just like, we're not going to tell you yes or no. We're just going to leave it there. And as years go by. So it is interesting to see who received these first ETFs. But the fund, the ProShare one, of course, trading under the ticker BITO, rose about 3% to 41.25 as of 9:33 a.m. in New York. It's been long awaited by both the crypto community and investors on Wall Street, many of whom have argued for years that a Bitcoin-centric exchange-traded fund has been overdue. So it's interesting to see what's going on right now. Again, some people are incredibly bullish this week, as you can see, says Sam Bankman-Fried, Chief Executive Officer of Exchange FTX. It's long been assumed that whoever receives approval first could stand to reap the greatest benefits, including industry recognition, as well as potentially attracting huge amounts of cash. Some analysts are already bullish on BITOs, BITOs, of course, the ticker symbols, prospects. The futures-based Bitcoin ETF could attract more than $50 billion in inflows in its first year, given the hype around it, according to noted Bitcoin bull Tom Lee, none other than Fundstrat. Now, here's the thing. If you know Tom Lee and Fundstrat, he's a contraindicator. Usually, if he says it's going to go up, you're going to get a lot of money, the price and everything goes down. So I would actually be looking at this too, because if the price does dip aggressively, we can now blame it on Tom Lee from Fundstrat, that they always have in all these articles. Oh, let's give a shout out to our sponsor of the day, Crypto Vantage. Thank you for the tip. Crypto Vantage said, thanks for the shout out. Hey, you all are making it easy with those articles over there. Much appreciated. Let's see. Let me check out some of the comment section. I know you all have your thoughts on these ETFs. Our project experience said, how does the ETF impact Taproot for next month? Those enhancements with Taproot does not really support the whole ETF aspect. So again, my thoughts on this ETF is like we have to separate. It's going to be, again, the narrative is going to change. ETFs are a financial product. It's a derivative, right? It's a financial product. And like any product, especially in the capitalistic market, your job is to sell this product by any means. So I don't think Taproot is even going to, Taproot and ETFs are going to be two totally different things. It's almost like, I forgot the double Venn diagram where it shares a little bit in the middle, but it's, you know, two totally different things on the 75% of the circle, the Venn diagrams or whatever. But I think it's going to be like that. And the reason why is because, again, people who care about Bitcoin, who buy Bitcoin, who's interested in the project, they'll know about Taproot. Everyone else, that's going to be like the stuff that you don't think about. It's going to be in the background. And specifically when it comes to ETFs, they want to stay away from like Taproot, like technological terms. They want to stay as far away as possible because, like, again, that whole educational piece, you're trying to sell a financial product. You don't want to get into, well, this is going to improve security and this and that of this product you're buying. Like, people don't even understand what Bitcoin is. And I highly doubt that people selling these ETFs are going to have enough time and manpower and resources to be well-versed to teach every client. So with all that being said, like I said, I think they're going to change the narrative. And the whole thing with ETFs is going to be, hey, here's a way to beat inflation. Here's a way to store your value. Here's a way to get exposure to that hot new Bitcoin technology, right? Like, they're going to be looking for ways to just sell it in that sexy way. It's not going to be, hey, you know what Taproot is and what's going to do for this upgrade? Like, I don't think they're going to do that from my perspective. But hey, we'll see what happens. Sergeant Crypto said, yes, Tom Lee is the top call. Exactly. Tom Lee usually signals that the market's about to take a little dip, but we'll see. Rendo, like Denzel said, the ETF is a novelty more than anything, but still incredibly bullish as it calls for institutional mass adoption. I agree with that as well. My Ninja said future ETFs are not the greatest, but it's a start. We just have to watch out for the games. Yeah, that's one thing. I haven't been able to respond to some comments. I have been seeing comments coming in saying that, hey, actually, shout out to Steve from Toronto. He sent me one yesterday where essentially it was like, I guess one way that they may try to manipulate the market is by creating the ETFs, of course, creating these derivatives, and then essentially doing an oversell or an overbuy of them, and it essentially not being shown at the price of Bitcoin at the time until it's too late, and then you'll see these large swings in prices, whether it's large dips or large pumps. I kind of get it. Like, it may be a way to manipulate the market, but at the end of the day, you still have to buy Bitcoin. So you can't really hide that for too long. So I don't know how much manipulation we'll see, but it is something to look out for. Let's see. Cryptocurrency, Carmelo said, do you own your own keys with the ETF? It feels like you would. So I highly doubt it. Again, to me, that's why they're doing an ETF. That's why they're doing a derivative of the product. Of course, to pay the regulators, because you got to be able to pay the regulators. You can't skirt around their entire financial system. So that's one reason why. But also, it's so that they can't own the keys. I think, to me, the way it sounds, an ETF, the platform, the company, the organization owns the keys, if they're even buying it, and they're giving you an IOU. That's the way it seems to me, but I will have to check it out a little bit more in detail. Cornelius Broadnock says, so the ETF will be similar to group insurance. You get a certificate, but you don't own it. Exactly. That's the way I'm thinking of it. So I definitely got to look more into it. Again, this thing is happening right in front of us. But again, we'll continue to follow the price and the trends and charts, because this won't be the last derivative product to come out. And again, I think this week total, we're looking at like 5 different ETFs that may be debuting this week. This won't be the last financial product. So depending on what the price does, what the chart shows, is it a sell the news moment, or is it the aggressive pump we've been waiting? Like the next time in 2 or 3 or 4 more years, when the next financial product comes out, the next derivative, we kind of have an idea of like, no, this thing is literally going to make the market pump, or we know it's more than likely going to dump when that happens. All right, what else is going on? U.S. Treasury is in the news, says it must modernize and adapt to digital currencies. That is right. Bend thy knee. Listen, people, capitulation is crazy. Even the U.S. Treasury is saying, yes, we must bend thy knee to digital assets. Here it says digital assets and payment systems could harm the efficacy of our sanctions if left unchecked, the Treasury said. The United States Department of the Treasury has issued a review on sanctions, and suggested the government do more to develop its infrastructure and policies in regards to digital assets. So first thing I want to point this out. Shout out to the United States Department of the Treasury for publicly being like, hey, if you want what we have going on to keep working, then we need to address this right now. And here's the crazy part. I won't say it's like super late, but it's pretty late to address it. Like, and this is the thing we've been talking about since we started the show, since we started consulting and talking Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Like, the war has been won. We have been saying this from day one. Like, if you actually use the technology, read the white paper, play around with some of this stuff, the war is won. It's over. Like, it's open source. You just download the technology, right? So it's unfortunate that it's taken this many years for different parts of our government. I mean, we've seen it with the SEC now. We've seen it with the CFTC, who they're even like, hey, Congress need to make some decisions. You all need to tell us what to do. And now you have the United States Department of Treasury essentially doing the same thing. Hey, it's time to jump on top of this. Like, this thing is about to affect the way we do business. Again, the issue is, first of all, it's kind of late. Like, we're just now saying we need to jump on this. And it's like, oh, you don't know yet? Like, this thing is getting crazy. People is getting crazy. Like, we're on NFTs and DeFi. We're talking about digital assets. But in a report on Monday, again, shout out to the Treasury Department. This is what we need more of in our government. People coming out like, say, hey, we need to get on top of this. But in a report on Monday, the Treasury Department said the growing use of digital assets was hampering the implementation of sanctions while balancing funds from legitimate humanitarian organizations. The department suggested that better communication between itself and the crypto industry, financial institutions, and others, in addition to deepening its institutional knowledge and capabilities, can help improve the current policy. So, got to unpack this here. I would agree that better communication, yes, but the issue with that is, listen, the government has been unfair. It's been corrupt and unfair. So I think just from the people I know in the crypto industry, that communication, you're going to definitely see a pushback. And even if you pay some of the people in this industry, granted, some stand-up folks as well, but there's also some people that dislike the way the government's been carrying on about the crypto industry so much that they'll take the money and disappear on you with a straight face to the government. So it's one of those things where it's just like, you're not going to be able to pay for this communication. And, oh, how do I know this isn't anecdotal? Because they've already tried. Hey, you remember back in 2017 with $75,000 to $100,000 to the pump and dump groups on Telegram and stuff? You didn't see any of the news articles like, oh, we got these pump and dumpers from here, or this Telegram group here. People weren't buying on it. Or, hey, was it $300,000 or $800,000 to hack Monero? Did anybody hack Monero for the government? Like, so it's just some of these things was like, they're not even taking the money. And for some of the times that they do take the money, they're not giving them anything back in return or stringing them along like a Tinder date. They're like, yeah, of course. Don't get me wrong. I know some people get married, but hey, it's not the norm. But seriously, so I think that's one of the things that is going to be detrimental to all government departments as they look for better communication. Because like I said, the government has a 100-year plan, folks. They're not just over here like, yeah, we just want better communication. Today, what do you want in the next 3 to 5, 10, 20 years? It's going to be like, no, y'all don't listen real well. That's what they're going to be telling the crypto industry, because they'll be dictating things to us. But it also says financial institutions, of course, there's a reason why the communication between the financial institutions and the crypto industry is bad. Financial institutions saw the harm that was coming their way and pushed back. And others, in addition to deepening its institutional knowledge and capabilities. This is the part we're pretty late on. It's 2021. We're talking about deepening its institutional knowledge and capabilities about digital assets. So what better way to plug a masterclass in this? That's right. So check out the gentlemanofcrypto.com. Click on that link to masterclass. hey, if you work for the U.S. Department of Treasury, I know some of my LinkedIn folks are over there, you may want to go ahead and take this class and tell your department head to give us a call or email, and we'll give you all a nice little discount to get you all up to speed in that master class. There we go. You all like that segue, don't you? But one thing I did want to talk about is sanctions. Sanctions are a fundamentally important tool to advance our national security interests. I could have told you. I literally didn't even read this paragraph yet, and I already knew that I was going to say it. It said Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Adeyemo. Treasury sanctions review has shown that this powerful instrument continues to deliver results, but also faces new challenges. We're committed with working with partners and allies to modernize and strengthen this critical tool. The report added, if left unchecked, these digital assets and payment systems can harm the efficacy of our sanctions, as mentioned already. But yeah, this is something that's very important too. Now, of course, I'm a proud American citizen as well, America. And yes, national security is important, not only to our country, but every country out there who wants to protect the people within its borders. National security is important, and they are right. Digital assets will definitely dilute or not marginalize that national security on all fronts, because you can't really sanction people. Also want to point out that even the Treasury is saying, listen, the Treasury is saying, Treasury Sanctions Review has shown that this powerful instrument, they're calling sanctions, a financial sanction, a powerful instrument that continues to deliver results, but also facing new challenges. People, I just showed you yesterday, and I actually went to Bank of America physically yesterday with the email in hand, like, yo, is this real? And they were like, yeah, it's real. We don't control it. I'm like, they was like, something in the system tells us. I'm like, all right, don't give me the system thing, because there's literally a human telling you all to do this. Let's not do that. But essentially, they were doing the same thing to me, I feel like, and to many of their customers. They're essentially sanctioning your accounts. They're saying you can transfer however much you want to yourself in your own accounts, which makes no sense for the most part. But to transfer out, we're limiting that to $1,000 personally and $5,000 for a business on a day-to-day basis. To me, that is a sanction. That is a financial sanction, and it is very powerful. A business can do that with government backing. So, of course, on a grander scale, the United States, for example, sanctions countries that we are not allies with for many reasons. And of course, many of them could be national security reasons, like actual, they're trying to bomb us or something. And some of those reasons could be, we have a big American company that has interests over there that we're just fucking with them. So it is what it is, gang, gang. But regardless, it goes back to how much, how much power and responsibility should we think and put behind sanctions, especially coming from the United States, even as a citizen. It's like, what's more important? Freedom and inclusion of the financial market, which we've already shown has, the majority of the world's population has been excluded from, or national security. What's more important? Is it more important to say, hey, I'm glad I'm safe, but good luck to y'all banking? And the reason why I say that's a slippery slope is because right now it's like, oh yeah, I can care less, like sanction, yeah. National security, we need to get a hold of these digital assets. And then I wake up one day, my bank is like, hey, yeah, you can only transfer $1,000 a day. Or I think it's Bitcoin, as they mentioned, is like, somebody in the comment section mentioned yesterday that this is just the road to the $600 that Biden actually wants, which could be crazy. So that's my beef with the sanction. It's like, hey, I'm all for national security, but it's a slippery slope. My bank's already telling me $1,000 I can transfer. In a few months, in a year, it might be $600 transfer. That to me is a sanction, a financial sanction that digital assets does skirt around. And now that the Treasury, to me, this is more of a bullish indicator than the ETFs. I mean, the United States Treasury just came out and said, if left unchecked, these digital assets and payment systems could harm the efficacy of our sanctions. What have I been saying for the longest? Listen, you all ain't even seen it yet. And we've been hearing the stories, we get the emails, we talk to people and some of their children. There are now already teenage millionaires from crypto. They're already teenage millionaires. Do not let someone get into the billions with this crypto thing and actually have the backbone to be like, no, this is the way we're going to do things moving forward, and I have the resources to do it. It will be a very different world And I think that's a road that we may see. I think the US Treasury sees that as well. And that's the national security part of it. Because again, what are you going to, like, you haven't seen it yet, because even if Facebook, Google, Amazon, Twitter, all those big billionaires, you put them all in a room, they might have $1 trillion worth of capital, right? But it's still United States dollars. They don't control it. We're not saying it because we're not trying to be outright China, but it's kind of like China still, where it's like, yeah, the Communist People's Party, wherever it is, the CCP, wherever, they own that money. They own everything in the country. Similar to Russia, where they talk about Putin. They say Putin does. Every country, like spin the globe and pick a country, that government probably owns your money as well. It is no different in the United States. So with that, even our own companies, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, together as a team, they still couldn't get that far because the government owns the money. Now, if they had that in Bitcoin or Monero or Zcash, or Mark Zuckerberg actually went forward with his Libra at the time, or Diem, wherever he wants to call it, and all four of those people said, we're only using Diem, we're only using Monero, we're only using Bitcoin, we're only using all of this. We're going to continue to do our services unless the government literally comes in and physically shuts them down. We're going to continue to offer our services. We're going to switch this thing fully to crypto, and we're going to invest in the Navy, and we're going to invest in the Army as well, and the Air Force, and a police force, and we're going to start buying land and territory in all these parts of the United States, and we're going to start doing, but like, that's the left unchecked part that go ahead, that starts to threaten national security. And to me, this is the U.S. Treasury Department really throwing that signal out there, like, hey, if we don't catch up on this, what I just said will happen. And then it goes to, hey, is it going to happen with 4 modest, good American citizens, or will it happen to a foreign national that lives here now? Will it happen to a 17-year-old who's pissed off at the world, right? Like, who will it be that has the brunt of resources in crypto that starts to dictate kind of how we operate? So it'll be interesting to see. Our project experience, thank you for the tip. So I appreciate the feedback, and that makes sense. Let them pump Bitcoin with ETFs, and we, the ecosystem, can understand the core of Bitcoin for sure. And here's the other thing too, with the Bitcoin ETF, like, this may just be a test ground for Ethereum ETFs, XYZ ETFs, XYZ ETFs, ABC ETFs, 1, 2, 3 ETFs, because then you could really water down the market. Like, you can really put a derivative on it. Like, could you imagine if they could convince the government to do a Dogecoin ETF? Like, people, like, that is how they'll make their money back. The Bitcoin ETF was just, listen, it's like, oh, it was Wall Street. We give them the big ones first, the blue chips. It's the real man. Then we start shoving this shit down their throats. Like, it's the same thing. It's the Bitcoin ETF. It's like, yeah, this is safe. It's a great financial product. Like, it's a derivative. Bitcoin, the price while volatile is shown to always increase, blah, blah, blah. The narrative. 2, 3 years go by. Yeah, this Shiba, ETF. So here's the thing. Have you seen Shiba? Well, 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm telling you, this will be the narrative. 2 or 3 years ago, it was at what they call, Satoshis, at 2,800 Satoshis or whatever, or in money terms, it was 0.00001 cent, way less than a penny. Now we have it at 8 cents, right? And while they're telling you that 8 cents, you're not even recognizing the price of Bitcoin is $600,000 now. You're just saying, oh man, Shiba's at 8 cents. It's like, yeah, but Bitcoin's at $600,000. Everything's up. But I think that's what's going to be with the narrative in ETFs. They're essentially going to, they'll probably do it as close as they can to the right way with Bitcoin, just so they can start to really flood it with every other shitcoin ETF out there you could think of. And then that's when it's going to be, I think 2008 all over again, where it's just like, just the credit rating agencies giving everybody A pluses. It's just going to be crazy. It'll be crazy. But again, this is all stuff for the crypto market. I see everybody with the laughing faces. Rendo, like Denzel said, bro, a Doge ETF. Yeah, Jasmine, goodness, says Shiba ETFs for sure. Blue tops, get your blue top cryptos. You know what's up. Bitcoin Benito said exactly, the BitConnect ETF. Like, people, do you see the right? Look, Jasmine said every time King is a predict this stuff, it always happens. Yes, smash that like text. You can't say you did not hear it here first. This will be the thing, people, I'm telling you. But again, I'm not mad at them. Like, That's good business. I'm mad. I'm more mad at myself that I'm not a multi-billionaire at one of these organizations, institutions, because I would be flipping and flipping and flipping this thing over and over again. Like, I'm not mad at them. I see what they're doing. And yes, too much for you. Okay, this is what it really is. The ETF sounds like a way to divert people from buying Bitcoin. Boom, that is what it is. You get it? By this time, by all this talk of ETFs and derivatives, financial products, that's what it's all doing. At the end of the day, it's just, hey, over here. And it's just like, oh, but you ain't buying no Bitcoin this week, right? You ain't dollar cost average, right? Okay, cool. That's all we need to hear. So I agree. I think that's just a way for people not to buy more Bitcoin. Now, something else that we did call, got to go ahead and reach back there and give ourselves a pat on the back. I actually called this one in the masterclass. I called this, and then since I've called it a few times as well, that something afoul may be going on. But crypto lender Nexo confirms NYAG order and causes a mix-up. Nexo Financial confirms to be one of the 2 crypto lending firms to receive the cease and desist order from Attorney General James' office. So in the masterclass, one of the things when we were bringing up the crypto lending platforms, we were talking about BlockFi, Nexo, and all these other ones. When I actually brought up the Nexo link, it was offline at the time. And I was like, hey, this is a red flag. I'm actually trying to teach about this website to the, as a lending platform or whatever. Of course, you get these rewards and APY and all this stuff. So I'm trying to teach about it. And I can't even access the website. That's a red flag. That means like they're either under constant attack right now, or something in the background is going on where they wanted to shut it down. It looks like the answer is the background, and New York is after them. But it's kind of hilarious how they're calling it a mix-up. It's not a mix-up. If you remember, Coinbase Lending came out and said, hey, we're going to do this whole Coinbase Lending. SEC said, we'll sue your ass. Coinbase came right back out and said, no, we just playing, y'all. We got other products. We got NFTs we're going to offer. It kind of goes back to Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, what I tell you, he thought he was in charge of the world, but he didn't have no Bitcoin. He said, I'm going to run for president, and I'm going to make a stable coin called Libra or whatever, a cryptocurrency. And what happened? He was in front of the Senate, and they basically was like, no, you're not. And he was like, they were like, no, you're not. But he was like, but they were like, no, you're not. And he was like, no, I'm not. They were like, good boy. So it's not a mix up. This isn't just happening. But it looks like, let's go ahead and get into this story. Cryptocurrency lending firm Nexo Financial denies the allegations of offering unregistered services to New Yorkers put forth by Attorney General Letitia James. Attorney General James directed 2 unnamed crypto lending companies to cease operations on Monday, citing failure to register the business in New York and performing unlawful activities. First and foremost, I mean, if this is not out of the episode, out of this series, Billions, I don't know what is. Here's my question. Nexo is a new company, people. They're getting started as well. How does the Attorney General James know about Nexo, whether they're in New York or not? Point blank, period. How does she know about Nexo, whether they're in New York or not? A. B. How much reach? Like, what type of business is Nexo doing to the point that you should be focused on them, especially in New York, over your other Wall Street objectives and things that's already going on in the banking system? Why are you worried about a new company when literally we wake up on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis and see the banks are getting fined? So that leads me to believe one of those 10 people I always tell you about gave her that call and put that battery in her back. Hey, Nexo, get them up out of here, all right? Crypto lender Nexo is revealed to be one of the 2 companies to receive the cease and desist order from the Office of the Attorney General, denying its involvement in unlawful operations. A Nexo spokesperson said Nexo is not offering its earned product and exchange in New York, so it makes little sense to be receiving a cease and desist order for something we are not offering in New York anyway. Now, here's the other thing really quick. I gotta be honest with this one. First and foremost, let's throw it out there. Someone's lying, right? Someone is lying. Is it the business? Is the private business lying? Or is someone from the government lying? Someone is lying, straight up. There's no mix-ups. There's no, like, people. We're talking about a lot of money at stake with cryptocurrency, things that, like companies that have targets on their backs in New York specifically. So someone's lying. A. And B, if Nexo's actually telling the truth, then gang, woo, New York now playing. New York said, hey, you offered your product here. They like, no, we did. We never did. And New York like, yeah, but you did. So we're going to need our money. I mean, it don't get no more gangster than this. Like, I truly hope our regulators and the people in charge are being forthright for sure. So I'm assuming that, hey, the Attorney General has a stake, a claim to this case, and it's like, no, Nexo, you know you messed up. You know you messed up. So I'm hoping that Attorney General, everything's forthright there. But it will be crazy if it actually weren't. It wouldn't be the first time we saw that in this space. And they weren't. They were just like, yeah, we don't know if you actually did or didn't either. But what we do know is that you're going to give us our money. We're going to start calling up other states. We've seen this already with a few different crypto platforms. I mean, one morning is New York, the next day is Texas, the next day is New Jersey, the city of New Jersey. It's like, excuse me, it's just different things pop up all the time. So yes, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So according to Nexo, the allegations of operating an unregistered business in New York appears to be a case of mixing up the recipients of the letter. Oh, y'all said, hey, hold on. They looked at that letter. Hold on. Oh, no, this ain't even. Yeah, this is 11278. We want 11277. This is for next door. This is not even for us. We're gonna go ahead and write New York right back. This one not even for us. The company also confirmed the use of IP-based geo-blocking on its platform that prevents New Yorkers from participating in locally unregistered services. Still, we will engage with the NYAG and seek clarity. Our company retains top-tier legal counsel, both from US-based law firms and our in-house legal team. Woo, I don't know. I mean, listen, what was that? I don't know. Was that a friendly gesture to the New York AG, or was this like are we ready for war? I don't know what type of statement this was. It started off friendly. Still, we will engage with the NYAG and seek clarity, but engage, I don't know, that's an interesting. Engage sound like it could turn to contact sport, because right after you said engage, he was like, yeah, our company retains top tier legal counsel. I mean, woo, like, woo. That's like, hey, you know what? I'll meet him, but let him know I'm be bringing my big brother with me too. Like, oh, okay. And he's bringing his friends too, and they from all over the place. That's what that just sounded like to me. I don't think that the NYAG would take kindly to this. But on a serious note, it will be interesting to see how this case evolves. Because, like I said, this thing is like dominoes right now. And if it's proper, I understand, but it's kind of improper regardless, because we're talking about internet companies based in different parts of the planet. So, like, who could say, oh, you did internet business in my territory, like you owe us money? But extortion at its finest. But it'll be interesting to see how this works out, because if they can extort them and get something off them for this, then you better believe other companies are going to fall under the same precedent. Like, literally, NYAG office is going to be like, all right, we got 4 more companies we can hit with the same line. They already got passed through court and they failed, blah, blah, blah. They lost. We can do this again. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think this is just part of the whack-a-mole. Like, this is the whack-a-mole game in crypto right now that the government and regulators are doing. They're going after everything they can. So next, like I said, how do you even know about Nexo? Come on, it's whack-a-mole. And that's why DeFi is going to be ever so much important. I think there's going to keep pushing people to DeFi with these type of moves. Let's see, Sergeant Crypto, what's going on? Nexo used to offer their services to New York and stopped back in August. The only one left is Celsius Network, and they're going after them now too. So that's probably the other one who received that as well. That's crazy to see. Let's see what else is going on in the comment section. Moon Walker said, Nexo said we got a gang too. What's good? That's the way I read. Listen, if I was a New York AG and the response was we'll engage and seek clarity, but we got all these people too, just like, okay, all right, we'll see what happens. We'll see how this happens. Crazy BX Don, what's going on? Chavi said, I want my money right now. That's what's up. Engage sounds like tanks and grenades to me, says Carmilla. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that engage word, the way they put it out there. We'll engage. It's like we'll open the lines of communication. I don't know. That sounds more friendlier. Kadeem, New York shut out Celsius, made them go through hoops and hurdles, and are now giving them the cold shoulder anyway. This is what I'm saying. Like, that's the real gangster thing, but it's happening both ways, because Again, this is why I said the U.S. like if the U.S. Treasury and these other places are like, hey, we're looking to work with the crypto community in this open line of communication. It's like, all right, well, you need to call the dogs off in New York. Like, no company is going to want to work with the government when parts of the government are just like super strict and looking very kind of corrupt, looking funny, and kind of looking like they're extorting people. Because I mean, like you said, they shut Celsius out. They made them go through hoops, and now they're giving them a cold shoulder. And then on the crypto side, you know, governments and regulators are trying to work with people now. People are accepting money and they're stringing them along too and not really helping them. We're seeing people who leave the government going to go work with some of these companies, and either staying there making a lot of money or doing this revolving door. We're questioning it now, like Giancarlo, like, wait, are they setting up honeypot traps and just getting all the information from these private crypto companies and running back to the government and telling them? There's a lot going on right now. So yeah, it's definitely crazy out there. Let's see. Keone Mason said Facebook and Coinbase have teamed up. Check out NAB. Yeah, they teamed up a while back ago when they started essentially, I called it like a international, or not international, they did like basically a transfer program. They started sending executives to each other companies to work. Like, of course, Facebook sent their marketing and PR director over to Coinbase. I think Coinbase, I forgot, sent like one of their developers or something, someone who's working on the crypto side of things over to Facebook when they're working on their project as well. So they're definitely going back and forth. She's going after Celsius and Nexo. You know, those bankers dropped a dime, said too much for you. Okay, exactly. Like, she didn't just know about, she didn't wake up and know about it. So it's crazy. Let's see, what else do we have? Diamond would jump on TV and say, I told you crypto was a scam while getting away with the latest bank scam, says Reno Gamble. Ashley K says Shiba was using Venezuela for payments. Use case proved. Not necessarily. So, I mean, all it takes for a cryptocurrency to be a cryptocurrency and work is for two people to use it. So everybody's use case could be proved. Literally, if you can just send and receive it between two people. Now, will it work with 1 million people? Will it work with 2 billion people? What will happen to the market cap, volatility, developers, the project itself? So that's more of like when you talk about actual use case. And then also when you talk about use cases, what does it do different that Bitcoin doesn't do? And that's kind of different. Let's see, what else do we have? Last few comments. That's a good point. Oshika Gohan said, when SEC losing? I'm assuming like, when does the SEC really lose? Of course, Mark Cuban did beat him a few years ago. We talked about that on the show. I think Reggie Middleton told us about it. But you're right, by and large, the SEC does not really lose. But I would allude to this comment right under. Ashley K says, government is at war with us. Do not comply. That's the thing, people. You know, states versus big government, states versus federal government, private companies, private citizens versus big government. Like, that's been a big thing in every country throughout history. It's probably never going to go away. I mean, even back in the feudal system, like lords and kings and how they had their beefs and stuff because the government, essentially kings and queens, will push too much, and the lords and, you know, landowners will pull, you know, push back. So it's something that's been going on for forever. It's never going to stop, I don't think. But yes, essentially that is happening. So while the SEC doesn't often lose, this is new to the point, I think, where we can see them lose a lot more. And the reason why is because there's no precedent on a lot of these cases. They're trying to use old cases with the old financial system to give them precedent to these same digital cases, when it just isn't the same. And it's not the same because you're talking about global and a global economy. You're talking about a global financial system in its purest form, where it's like, no, the reason why you're going after everybody, you're suing everybody, you're extorting everyone, it's because you can't control it. Because if you could control it, you wouldn't have to really go after everybody. You could just dictate, this is what it is, and click an off button. Next, so you don't operate here anymore that quick. But since they're using digital currencies, as the US Treasury already said, hey, this is a threat to national security. And the threat is that people gonna stop listening to us. So that's crazy. Chappie said, who is using Shiba for payments? That is madness. Hey, listen, I guess everything out there, right? All right, let's see, last couple of comments. Litmo Crypto said the feds can print as much money as they want. I support a country using Shiba. Hey, that's fair. Lit mode, that is fair. I mean, whatever, like I said, it takes two people for the cryptocurrency to be real. I mean, if it can be sent and received, it's all good. So hey, whatever your project is, you know what it is. Feel free to shill it, call in Friday and shill it some more. Other than that, I do want to say, oh, last quick one. I see this one, Johnny Carson. I want to answer this because it's been debunked a long time ago, but someone said, how can you use Bitcoin during an EMP attack? So that was like one of the earlier things with Bitcoin criticism is like, well, what happens if an EMP happens or all the electricity goes out of the grid and stuff? And the one thing and the major thing everybody always says is like, you mean if like the internet stops working, cell phone stuff, like if an EMP attack happens, we have way more to worry about than Bitcoin, first and foremost. Secondly, if an EMP attack happened, you wouldn't be able to use cash. Banks wouldn't be able to use it because like everything's electronic in banks. Most of our cash is digital now. Not only is it becoming more digitized, but they're also telling you can't even transfer it out of your account. If y'all don't see the hustle coming right now, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, if an EMP attack happened, there's gonna like a blackout. A blackout? What? Have you not seen some of these crazy cities when these blackouts happen and for a day or two, like crime shoots up at times. So it's going to be a lot more to worry about than just Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Other than that, again, I want to thank today's show sponsor, CryptoVantage.com. If you haven't already, make sure you check them out as well. Again, a free news and education resource for cryptocurrency. Here, I'm going to pull them up one more time. And of course, they have all type of ways to learn about new things, talk about wallets, exchanging, buying, best stuff, NFTs, news. So if our masterclass is a bit too expensive, or if you're just a beginner and want to kind of test the market first before you go into something like a masterclass, make sure you check out CryptoVantage.com. Again, that's why we partner with them, a free news and educational resource for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Other than that, make sure you smash that like and share, and we will see you all tomorrow with some more crypto news.